Hey, what's up? I know what you're thinking. Yes, I am in a hotel room. Way to pick that off. Hey, yesterday was fun. Whenever you're watching this, it was yesterday in real time, and we did the first episode of the Perform Better summer seminar series, where this year is very different, where there's four presenters on one general topic, and everybody shares the screen, and it's moderated, and it's really the thing that I liked the most was what I said in my intro was I've said many times one of the things that I find is I prefer to be different is that so many people go to courses and seminars and whatever educational pieces and the questions that were generated throughout the talk in the Q&A piece is very simple they're so reductionist in terms of just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And what I really liked was that now the listeners had an opportunity to listen to four people, all fairly, very highly credentialed, and you could potentially get four totally different answers. And then what are you going to do then with your just tell me what to do and I'll do it? You're going to pick the one you like the most. How about you actually try what everybody is saying and see for yourself? Because everyone's context is different, and all four of these people that we had on there, myself, Chuck Wolf, Ian Manning, and Michael Mullen, all people that you cannot argue they're not top level presenters for Perform Better because they're not good at what they do and their success and the results that they get with people. It doesn't mean that all four of them have to agree. And learning is not supposed to be easy. Acquiring information is easy, but learning requires you to admit mistakes. It means to try things. I mean, think about what we teach little kids. You learn from mistakes. So the only way to create mistakes is to actually do things, take risks. Hopefully those risks do not leave significant consequences. But now you have four people, and there was a lot of things, and I actually made it my point. I certainly believed everything I said. I actually really enjoyed my contributions to a lot of the questions, where because I do have a different perspective, particularly in rehab questions, that maybe try some other way, and certainly the focus is to try to find something that you're not good at. Try to find something that you're not passionate about and hand it off to someone else. And I think that's something I really tried to get across for the folks that watched at Perform Better. It'll probably be uploaded on the Perform Better app very soon, and hopefully it continues to go over well next week. Every Thursday, I'm pretty sure, is when they're doing this for now, however many weeks, where all the names that you know will be in groups of four with very keen topics. So that was a lot of fun. I hope you get to check that out. And if the things that I was saying was interesting when it comes to the rehabilitation piece, I'll probably try to say this as often as possible until we find what we're looking for. If the stuff that we're doing, I tell you, I will look, maybe we'll do a little Four Horsemen. Hey, Mr. Cameraman, come real close and you get this right, that everything that I say is what we actually do when we work with real people, whether they're high-level athletes, whether they're general population, whether they're billionaires, whatever they are. These are the things that we talked about yesterday and Perform Better is what we do. And if those things are interesting, then please get in touch with me. Please get in touch with Kyle Bowser if you have interest in relocating or are in the New York City area. We've got 2 offices, and we're really ready to take on definitely probably value for at least more than one individual. Does not have to only be physical therapist, because we're running an associate model where everybody basically runs their own business within the confines and the standards of a larger, more successful business. There's a lot of a lot of people that can be helped, a lot of money to be made, and there's good opportunities. So when we talk about these clinical pieces, this is what we do, and what we'll get into today from here is a little bit of a case study. And what was very interesting and actually was exciting to share it is simply because this was 100% over the phone, but it's not so much, I don't really know where we're going to get with this. There's, being able to somebody doing their own little resets with therapy, etc. It was just very interesting that we did seem to get a very desirable result, and we'll get this set up to be in person, particularly since we did move the dial, but to share just the thought process. That's really all this is. Just how am I thinking, and how are we coming to different things, and how do you draw lines with all the different information that's coming across. So now here's a Major League Baseball pitcher, doesn't matter who, but he's a real deal. 4 to 6 weeks of constant knee pain. I'm like, all right, this is already starting to get off, and the team tells him that it's the IT band. I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. It's a common thing. I'm not sure that that's typically a diagnostic model that I would communicate with, but okay. So let's see where this is going. However, significant fluid drained from the knee. I'm like, well, chronic overuse, soft tissue injuries don't typically lead to effused knees. MRI did show something on meniscus, but nothing that any surgeon would intervene. So my comments are like, okay, we got to figure this out, because yes, meniscus can create significant synovitis, but if you get it drained and you get cortisone shot, like there's some. But if it's not really the meniscus and the tear is insignificant, which of course we know you can have a torn meniscus and not have any issues, what's going on here? So we started to ask, like, okay, so it's a right-handed pitcher, so his right foot is parallel to the rubber, kind of facing a little bit towards third base. And I'm like, okay, so when does your knee get hot? When does it really bug you? Is it when you're pushing off the mound, which would be a form of knee or tibial external rotation? He goes, no, it's actually more if I turn my foot the other way. I said, oh, so it's like your pickoff move to first. He's like, yes, if my foot goes in that direction. I said, okay, so now we're talking about tibial internal rotation. Wow, now I'm starting to think, well, I'm sure that meniscus does matter, because you can't have an effused knee from some of these soft tissue issues. A trigger point, for instance, doesn't lead to a miserably swollen knee, but a trigger point could change the centration or kinematics of the knee during these high velocity, throwing 95 plus miles per hour, the kinematics of the knee, which then would take an asymptomatic knee, asymptomatic meniscus, and then turn it into something a little bit more meaningful. But then when the knee is cleared and you look on MRI now, the meniscus doesn't really move the dial. I said, take your left hand, cover the knee joint line, blah blah blah. Now drop it a couple finger lengths. And at that point, what I would expect is that the thumb of the left hand would be right at the top of the medial gastroc, which is immediately, I guess you'd say inferior, but it's really deep. It's not so much lower, it's deep, layered. It would probably be the belly of the popliteus. So now if we're talking about a knee tibial rotation issue, and we're talking about pain, and we're not going to blame the meniscus, well then one thing, how do you draw lines? Like, what can cause knee pain and impact tibial rotation of the knee? Well, one of the first things that we should be thinking of is the popliteus. It clearly is a knee rotator, and it clearly crosses the back of the knee, and it clearly, when there is a trigger point, can cause diffuse knee pain that wouldn't get better from pharmaceutical. It wouldn't that's not how a trigger point is resolved. So I said, just dig on that a little bit, get after it, just do whatever, and let's just see none of this is going to last. It's more of a diagnostic approach. Basically kept doing it because the knee kept feeling better, and he said that his knee was rotating because he was keen enough. He did understand what it means to rotate the knee without everting the foot or moving at the hip. So I'm like, okay, bingo. From there, we built out a small plan until we're able to get seen in person, or if someone picks this up with these notes, because I don't really know. I'm not. This isn't an act of magic. This is more of a thought process. From here, we're gonna. If he's gonna do this on his own, he's gonna do the vibration gun. He's gonna take a baseball and get on it. He can use his own hands because what are we really doing? We're just breaking up some blood vessels and potentially taking advantage of energy crisis theory. He's doing some really cheap trigger point therapy, and if the tension in through that popliteus is temporarily removed, we need to jump in there and then remodel the tissue with more substantial means. Global postural stretching for the knee, we will go internal and external. I'm not sure yet where we're going to go with any particular individual stretches. However, because I have to go back into notes and see what we've done in the past. But then we're going to work on low oblique sitting. So you're sitting on your side, you're propped up on your elbow. That front knee is in a great position to rotate. We could also be in a sitting position. We're going to put a baseball right in front of the foot, and then we're going to move this way, which would largely be happening at the knee, not so much the foot. The foot wouldn't be able to get high enough and get over the ball if you keep your heel flat. So I'll probably make some videos for that, and then I'll share them as we go on if I decide to run with these. And then we then bring it up to a standing position. We're going to do some triplanar swings and steps on a wall. Big things in warm-up, so we're not going to do a lot of intense stuff, but certainly when we start to get into the transverse plane, that down knee should be internally and externally rotating along with the hip and along with the foot. Now, also remember that we could probably build that out significantly, and then we'd finish with if we're going to talk about knee pain, we're talking about L4, so we're going to go above, at, and below that area with Eldoa position. So we're going to go 3-4, 4-5, and 5-1. Eldoa, elongation, decoaptation, osteoarticular. We're basically trying to create mild levels of traction at these different positions. Who knows exactly what's happening? If we're going to say that these are really difficult positions and you get better at holding them, I'm going to suggest something ideal will happen. But when you are studied with these Eldoa positions, it's remarkable how effective they'll be when you use them in this dermatomal approach. Where is the pain? Find the dermatome, couple it with an Eldoa, and it is a very powerful approach. It just seems to be very successful. Again, I'm not going to claim why. We actually talked about that in a Perform Better talk that I referenced earlier, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the nerve was being compressed and somehow this funky, obtuse position, which I cannot explain. I'm not sure I've ever learned why. Okay, why did the first time someone pick that position and say it was L3, L4, and they were correct? I don't know those answers. But what I do know is that if I think there's a 3-4 problem, part of the treatment plan is to use that position, and we may do that often in the evaluation. Now, we couldn't do this because we're on the phone, and you can't tell somebody what to do unless they already know what it is. So I'm by intent not really demonstrating or going through a lot of what these exercises will be because my skill set and the exercises that I champion do not and probably won't be the same that you know and that you champion. But ultimately, you can see we're going through this systematic approach of, okay, if we are going to be creating a special exercise program for knee rotation, well, we started with a reset that affected and modulated the perception of pain. In this case, maybe it was a popliteus trigger point. We were very lucky that also improved movement, and it was all consistent with what the patient was describing as a primary generator, which was tibial internal rotation. So, and then we'll go into some mobilization. We'll go into some stabilization. We'll bring it up and try to move in 3 planes. I think there's probably good reason to add a more of a fitness component that involves tibial rotation, and then we'll finish with Eldoa. So that's an approach that you can kind of fill in the blanks when we're looking at special exercises as a result, motor skill acquisition. That's try to draw lines. Now, what else could this be? I'm not really sure that any kind of therapy for the popliteus is really going to be that different for the plantaris. The plantaris, I guess, by anatomy, if that is accurate, it does cross in a similar fashion, but it's very tendinous. I've seen protocols for plantaris. Not sure I'm buying it. You've got the gastroc tendons that we do know cross the knee. Superiorly, you've got the hamstring tendons, as well as the semimembranosus that cross the knee. So maybe we have some action there, because if it crosses the knee and there's aberrant tension, that certainly could be a factor. But the one that we could not get after would definitely be appreciating what's going on with the talus, what's going on posterior, some of the combination of different anatomy. The one that I didn't even know existed before I learned it, tibiofibular some kind of, when you get into some of this osteopathic stuff, there's some interesting things where it's almost funny, but if you appreciate, okay, this is an issue that I think could be related to this alleged anatomy, and let's try it and let's see if that modulates the nervous system. And that's really what we're trying to do in these quick recovery types of things. But then we've got to get back into the more ideal tension. We need to get the joint to have its unrestricted motion, 20 degrees each way, and then we need to get a more substantial exercise package, and hopefully one that would value a restoration of aerobic capacity of those contractile tissues. So I'm trying to sound real fancy there, but ultimately, if that was a trigger point in the popliteus, well, then that likely happened as a result of decreased hypoxia by hook or by crook. Maybe you get whacked with a sledgehammer by Triple H, or maybe it was overused. It can't just be a knee. We know this. We know, but I would look at navicular. We got to look at cuboid. You got to look at the cuneiforms. You'll find that a lot of tibial rotation issues are stemming there. So this was all on the phone. We didn't even do video because I was driving, and it was definitely worth sharing to illustrate how this thought process, how can you create chains from a keen evaluation, because everything north is going to be involved in this also. So being able to appreciate what can be contributing to someone's pain, you make that like kind of one column, and then what are the objective movement limitations, range of motion, challenge with resistance, etc., and then what lives on both sides. And I presented that quite a few years ago as one shot, one kill, and I learned it from Gray Cook a few years before that, because if you are keen to some of these referral patterns that are like trigger points or some other models, you put those two lines together and you really can create some solutions very, very quickly. So that's the thought process. That's what I was trying to get after. Please, you might get some of that also from what we talked about at Perform Better. Keep checking their app for each week when these things come up. And everything's free on there. Nobody's got an affiliate code. Nobody's pushing stuff that they don't believe in. I believe everything that I'm saying, and I actually try and do everything that I'm saying. So hopefully this was useful, and just make you think a little bit, which was really what I was hoping to accomplish with this little vlog, as well as what we did on the summer series. So hopefully that all makes sense, and I'm going to keep looking around this hotel room, maybe under the bed, maybe in the bathroom, because if you also have seen a leprechaun, say yeah.